Hi everyone, my name is Anita. Welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be a book haul, my very first book haul I've ever done. And I have around 15 books here. I shouldn't need to buy any more books for at least like another few months. The reason being that a lot of the books that I have hauled have been, are because they are going to be on my TBR. So I'm only buying books that I know I'm definitely going to be reading on my TBR, whether this year or next year. There's 3 books in my book haul that I have already read. I don't want to spend too much time on those because I will be talking about them in my wrap-up. First one being The Wrong Family by Tarryn Fisher, a psychological thriller. Second one, Fable by Adrienne Young. I did finish reading this one, when was it? Yesterday. So I really enjoyed it. And the third one I won't be talking about because it'll be on my wrap-up is Can't Even by Anne Helen Petersen. And it's a book based on burnout culture and millennials. Okay, now let's get into the books that I haven't read yet, and that will be in future TBRs. And also little videos that I plan on doing. First one being Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, a young adult fantasy novel. This one has been bumped up on my list because of the show. The show looks really good. It looks really good, the show. I'm quite excited for it to come out on Netflix. I've actually heard mixed feelings, but more positive than negative about this book. I haven't exactly gotten around to all the popular YA fantasy books like Throne of Glass, Shadow and Bone, which I'm definitely going to be reading. There are other popular YA fantasy books I haven't read yet. I'm hoping to read them throughout the next 2 years. And the next book I have bought in the month of January, which will be featured in next month's TBR, so this is a bit of a sneak peek, and that is Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. When this book was published in 2019, it blew up everywhere. It was incredibly popular, and basically it's about, actually no, I'm not going to tell you about it because it will be in my February TBR, so I'm not going to say too much about that. And the next book I bought in the month of January is Artemis by Andy Weir. And I've heard people say not so many positive things about it, but I think people were hoping that that Artemis I'm talking about would be like The Martian, but I've heard quite positive things about it. Since I don't know when I'm going to be reading this, I'll just tell you a bit about it. Welcome to Artemis, the first city on the moon, population 2,000, mostly tourists, some criminals. Jazz Bashara is one of the criminals. She lives in the poor area of Artemis and subsidizes her work as a porter with smuggling contraband onto the moon. But it's not enough. So when she's offered the chance to make a lot of money, she jumps at it. But though planning a crime in 1/6 gravity may be more fun, it's a lot more dangerous. And the next book, which I plan on reading in October, and yes, I have gotten my October TBR haul down packed. I know what I want to read. And one of the books on my October TBR, another little sneak peek I'm giving you, is Night Film by Marisha Pessl. And this book, it's not as popular. I think this is like a bit of an underrated book. I haven't heard too many people talk about it, but those that I have heard talk about it, I've heard nothing but good things about it. On a damp October night, the body of beautiful Ashley Cordova is discovered in a Manhattan warehouse. Her death is ruled a suicide. Investigative journalist Scott McGrath suspects otherwise. Last time McGrath got too close to the Cordova dynasty, he lost his marriage and his career. This time he could lose his mind. I've heard it's got some quite spooky elements to it. The book I'm going to be reading in October. Next 2 books that I'm going to be talking about. They are quite a popular book series. It's one that's definitely been making its rounds on BookTube, Bookstagram, probably even Book Twitter. I don't really go on Twitter much, but I would assume it'd be popular there as well. And I thought, okay, I don't usually try to buy into the hype, which is why I haven't read the Throne of Glass series just yet. I like to kind of distance myself from the hype and give it a good space of time before I read a hyped, beloved fantasy series or just a book in general. And the wildly popular book I'm talking about is From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. And actually, these next two books, this one and the sequel to From Blood and Ash, A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire, is going to be in my February TBR. So I'm quite excited about it. So you're getting quite a few sneak peeks for what I'm going to be reading throughout the year. I'm not saying too much about From Blood and Ash and A Kingdom of Flesh and Fire because it is going to be in my TBR. Okay, and those are the books that I'm going to be reading digitally via ebook. Let's get on to the physical books I have bought. First one being A Life on Our Planet by David Attenborough. It's a non-fiction book. If you've seen the Netflix movie of the same title, I believe, then you will know what this book is going to be about. It's basically like about restoring the world to how it was, especially with impacts of global warming and all that kind of stuff that we need to do better. Not cut everything back or anything, like not stop everything, just rewild the world, basically, is what he's trying to say. This is the book format of that movie, the Netflix movie, I believe, so I'm definitely interested in reading that. Hoping to read it this year. The next one is Law by Alexandra Bracken. I haven't heard a lot talked about this other than a lot of people were publicizing it. From what I do know is 3 keywords that I've heard other people mention that sound really good to me, that have definitely brought my attention. Greek mythology, gods, and a Hunger Games-esque type of element in this. Okay, I'll just read the back of the book to you. In modern-day New York, a murderous game is about to begin. The Agon. Every 7 years, for 1 week only, Zeus punishes the gods and makes them mortal. Forced to walk the earth, they are savagely hunted by descendants of ancient bloodlines who are eager to kill a god and seize their divine power and immortality. After her family was brutally murdered by a rival line, Perseus fled, turning her back on the Agon's cruel promises of eternal glory. For years, Law has honored her parents' memory by doing one thing: surviving. For years, she has pushed away dark thoughts of revenge. Until now. As the next game dawns, Law finds Athena gravely wounded on her doorstep. The goddess offers her an alliance against their mutual enemy and a way to leave the Agon behind forever. Law's decision to rejoin the hunt will come at a deadly cost, and may not be enough to stop the rise of a new god with the power to destroy all of humanity. You see why that I bought this book? It sounds so good. Again, I'm hoping to read this year. And I've also heard that the author pulls in a lot of her Greek heritage, I believe, into this book. So that's going to be very interesting. Oh, look at that. I'm just looking at it. Look at that beautiful marbling. I love it. Love it. The next one is With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. This is a young adult contemporary. Well, for one, it's about food, if you couldn't tell by the pictures of food on the cover. But it's about a young girl, a 17-year-old girl. I think she ends up being pregnant, but food has always been her life and she still wants to continue to pursue that. I'm expecting lots of food, lots of beautiful family connections, I'm hoping and assuming. Again, I'm hoping to read this year, if not, then next year. Now, the next two, are a continuation of a series that I would really like to finish, that I actually really ended up enjoying, even though I didn't enjoy the first book that much. That is A Map of Days and The Conference of Birds. Books 4 and 5 in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. And it continues off from where the 3rd book left off. And I'm not going to talk about that too much because it will spoil a little bit for you. So Jacob stumbles across this portal or something like that, like another world to the home of the peculiar children. And these children have special powers, so think like X-Men type of thing like that, but in kind of like a school setting. And then, of course, there's going to be like people or creatures out to get them for their powers or something like that, I believe. It's been a while. I've read the third book last year or the year before or something like that. And I really love this series because it has like really creepy imagery. Like the author found these images at a garage sale or something like that. And he ended up deciding to create a book out of it. Just the way that the pictures intertwine and connecting with the story is really, really good. And the last one is an 8-book bind-up of one of the series I read as a child, and I never got to finish it. I only read the first 3 books, and I just didn't continue on with it. Talking is very thirsty work. And the book, my childhood book, I guess I could say, is Deltora Quest by Emily Roda. Or Roda. And I don't know if in being in Australia, if I could classify this as middle grade, but it's definitely child, like aimed at more a child level, which I don't really have a problem with. Like I've seen other people my age read books targeted for younger people and still ending up enjoying it, so I thought, why not do that, you know? The beauty about this bind-up is that the books are short. They're only like about 100 pages each. Yeah, like about 100 pages each, so it shouldn't take me too long to read it. Just to give you a bit of a synopsis on what the book is. Deltora is a land of monsters and magic. Here for the first time, 8 books of the international best-selling fantasy series Deltora Quest are brought together in one superb volume. For centuries, the evil Shadow Lord has been plotting to invade Deltora and enslave its people. All that stands against him is the magic belt of Deltora, with its 7 gems of great and mysterious power. Sounds like Thanos, doesn't it? When the gems are stolen and scattered throughout the kingdom, the enemy triumphs, and Deltora is lost. Abandoned by their king, suffering under the Shadow Lord's cruel tyranny, the people live in ignorance, terror, and despair. But while most have abandoned hope, 3 unlikely companions have not. The great gems have been hidden in fearsome places throughout the kingdom and are protected by terrible guardians. But Leif, or Leaf, it's L-I-E-F, so I'm assuming it's Leaf, it's how it's pronounced. Barda and Jasmine believe that they can be found. They cling to the faith that if the magic belt can be restored, the Shadow Lord will be banished from their land. And a sketchy map to guide them, the companions set out into the unknown. So begins the perilous quest which has captured the imagination of millions throughout the world. And I'm actually quite surprised at how much I do kind of remember. Like, I do remember them going on quests and finding the gems. I'm just really excited to finally finish this series. Okay, now here's for the scary part, lifting them up. So these are the books. I'm hoping you can see them. So there's 6 here. I think altogether there's 15 altogether that I will be hopefully reading throughout the year. You also got to see sneak peeks of books I will be reading in the months of February and October. So that's that. That's why you don't do that. I knew that was going to happen. Anyway, that is all, folks. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want to subscribe, you can do so down below. And also let me know in the comments down below what books you read in the month of January. Okay, we'll see you later, guys. Bye.